Hi, I'm Elisa David David. Hope everybody had a great week. So this week we've sailed right into the parasha, the Torah portion of Noah. Now what I wanted to talk about this week is about our desire, and never mind our desire, but our addiction to be liked. Now if you look at the social networking environments, all we are there are collectors of likes. Will they like my comment? I'm going to count the hearts, I'm going to count the likes. And then on Twitter, I'm going to count the favorites. And all we're doing is pandering to the audience because we become so polarized. So we are pandering to whichever group that we are a part of and afraid even to step out of the box. Why? Because we want to be liked. But the victim, the greatest victim of wanting to be liked is truth, is honesty, is your own individual voice of who you are really meant to be. Now, if there is a disconnect between what you're thinking and what you're typing and what you're saying, then there is something severely wrong. I think that things were always like this, that people always wanted to be liked, but I think that the social media environment has amplified this. There's no voice of dissent. Is there nobody who can disagree with anybody within their own milieu and say, you know what you're doing is wrong? And I think about that even in terms of our own personal relationships, never mind in that fake virtual reality environment. But with people in your life, are you an honest friend? What makes you a friend? That you go shopping together? That you have something in common that you like? What really makes you a friend? Because in my estimation, what I give as a friend and what I expect of as a friend from a friend is your honesty. I don't need likes. It's always nice, everybody wants you feel good. But really when it comes to tachlis, as they say, when it really comes to true accountability of myself, I don't want you to tell me if it's good, if it's not good. I don't want you to tell me you look nice if you don't look nice. A real friend is somebody who's going to tell you probably everything you don't want to hear. And if you're a wise friend, you'll be so ever grateful that there's somebody in your life who does that for you. Now, I'm not talking about a friend who always wants to put you down so they can undermine you and make you have no self-confidence so that you'll never rise above. But if there's friends who are really going to look at you critically and give you feedback critically so that you can improve yourself, that's a real friend. Unfortunately, one of my best friends, as you know if you've tuned in a couple of times, just passed away. That was the type of friend that he was. A perfect, loving, supporting friend who was highly critical when it was time to be critical. And I've grown as a human being because of that. But that's our calling for all of us. What type of friend are you? Because, I've read the Bible a few times in my life. It doesn't often say that God hates anything. In fact, the Bible tries to use positive language instead of negative language. God hates a liar. And if you are telling a friend something that's not accurate and not honest, then you're a liar. And you're ruining the very stamp with which God imprinted on this world, which is emet, truth. If you look at the letters, if you speak Hebrew, the letters from the word emet, aleph, mem, tav, each three of those letters have 2 feet because the truth stands on 2 feet and the world stands on truth. The word sheker, each of those 3 letters have 1 leg. That's what lies stand on. 1 leg. And the world will topple over because of lies and because of fake likes and fake hearts. If you have a friend who put up a lousy picture on Facebook, be like me. Don't embarrass them, obviously, publicly. But I will write to that person privately and say, you know what, I've seen you look better, or maybe it's not appropriate, or this or that. Because that's what a real friend is. You don't let somebody make a fool out of himself, and do not put a stumbling block before the blind. Maybe a person really doesn't know, and they don't realize. What type of friend are you? How badly and desperately do you have to be liked to tell people things that are just not true? And that's what this parasha is about. When we go to the end of the parasha, forget about the beginning with Noah, and I'll get there, but we jump to the end of this parasha, we learn about the story of Babel. Now they were building a tower to the sky. Their real intention was they wanted to make war with God. But what words do we read in the Torah that was what made Hashem upset? Is that they were of one language. All of one language. Everybody was of one mindset. They all spoke the same thing. There was no dissent. There was no one person, this is not right, speaking out against it. That's a dangerous thing. We know. We've seen fascism, we've seen communism, we've seen Nazism. We've seen the results right in front of us. Never ends good. Look at the world we live in today. We just had a vote between the Democrats and the Republicans for the judge, for the Supreme Court judge. None of the Democrats showed up. Was there not one normal Democrat who can dissent and say, let's sit like this? We'll cross our arms, but we won't vote, but let's go. Was there not? How terrified are you to open your mouth? Because the more terrified you are, the more terrified you'll have to be. Because it builds on itself, this evil. And evil is built on lies. Truth is shattering. As they say, the sunshine is the best disinfectant. But lies, they weave a terrible, dangerous web that will strangle us all unless we start to be honest, all of us, to each other and to ourselves. It's interesting because in the Jewish courts, in most courts in the world, somebody is going to be deemed guilty, so the majority will rule. Everybody rules that this person is guilty, they're guilty. In the Sanhedrin, in the Jewish rabbinical courts, if somebody was deemed guilty by the entire Sanhedrin, they were to be released, not killed. Why? Because where there is no dissent, when there is no voice going against what's going on, something is very wrong. Are you going to be that voice? Are you going to be like Noah, who wasn't afraid to go against all the depravity of his time, to go against all of them, to be the voice of honesty, of integrity, of truthfulness, of standing up for God, of standing up for what you believe in? Didn't end well for everybody else. It ended well for Noah, because he threw his faith into the truth and into Hashem. And yet Noah, on some level, is also criticized, because Noah didn't intercede for everybody else. The Zohar says he had a discussion with God, and in that discussion he asked God, what's going to happen to me? And God said, you will be okay. You'll be in the boat with your family. Everybody else will be destroyed. And he took a breath of relief. Contrary to Abraham, when God wanted to destroy Sodom and Gomorrah, and Abraham said, well, God, will you reconsider your decree if there's 50 honorable men and 40 honorable men? He went at least into a negotiation. And Abraham didn't reach the level of Moses, because Moses said, if you're going to destroy your people, God, then take me out of your book. I don't want to be a part of it. So what type of person are you? Do you stand only for yourself? Your own survival? Is that what it's all about? Life is short. I said it 1,000 times. And what are you here for? To preserve yourself? It's a very short preservation. We're all dropping dead. How long are you preserving yourself for? You want to preserve yourself? Keep the mitzvot, keep the Torah, be honest. And even to those people who are religious. There was a time, I believe, maybe that we had to have like Ahavas Yisrael, and all Jewish people have a place in Olam Haba, and attract people with honey and not with vinegar. I understand that philosophy, and maybe it was good in the 70s, the 80s, or the waves and the repercussions of a hippie generation. We're not in that type of world anymore. We're in a world of din, of justice, of hardship. And I really am grateful to the few rabbis that I see today, including Rabbi Mizrahi and Rabbi Yaron Reuven. Whether you hate them or like them on any other subject, I can't tell you what to do. You can't tell someone what to feel, but I can tell you one thing, is that they are not sugarcoating anything. Because people who love you will not sugarcoat. They will not try and preserve you because they don't want to hurt your sweet feelings and you're going to cry. No, they tell you the truth. So you should cry now, but not cry later. The best friend you can ever have is somebody who is going to tell you the truth, who's going to look you in the face and say, you can do better and you are better and be better. If you need help, I'll get you there. And even if you can't help them get there, by at least telling it to them. In a nice way. I'm not telling anybody to go with a machete and start cutting their friends apart. But in a soft, nice way that you know who you're talking to, know before whom you stand. You know how to address the people in your life. Address them honestly. Do not put a stumbling block before the blind. You should know that everything, you call it karma in Judaism, we call it midah keneged midah. Whatever you do is going to come back to you. Be honest, people will be honest with you. Be a friend and you'll have real friends. Look yourself in the mirror and see the truth. Do everyone a favor and tell them the truth. That's the lesson in the parasha of Noach. Come next week, we'll continue and we'll sail on.